Ibrahim. In ancient time, there was an unjust king named Nimrud bin Canaan, who was able to rule the eastern and western corners of the earth. God has given him many blessings that are innumerable, and instead of thanking God, he disbelieved and thinks himself greater and stronger than God, his creator. He was ruling his people in Iraq with iron and fire. In the beginning, he was worshipping idols. Years passed, and after that he claimed divinity and asked his people to worship him. At that time, Ibrahim was born to a family worshipping idols, and even his father was making that idols. But Ibrahim, since he was a little child, his heart was filled with hatred for these statues that don't eat, nor drink, nor speak, and don't harm or benefit. And he knew at his younger age that Allah is the Creator, the one and only. So he began to invite his father to worship Allah and to leave the idolatry. But his father refused and expelled him from his home. One day, while his people celebrating outside the city, Ibrahim entered the temple with sharp axe to destroy with it all the idols except the biggest idol, and put the axe on his neck. And when his people returned from their celebration, they found their idols destroyed, and they asked Ibrahim, "Who destroyed them?" Ibrahim told them, "The biggest one destroyed them. Ask him." They took Ibrahim to Nimrud, who argued Ibrahim in his Lord. When Ibrahim told him that my Lord is he who gives life and causes death, the king answered with pride, "I give life and cause death." To prove that, Nimrod brought forth 2 men who were sentenced to death previously. He ordered the execution of one while freeing the other one. Ibrahim didn't argue Nimrod misunderstanding for life and death. Then Ibrahim said, "Indeed, Allah brings up the sun from the east, so bring it up from the west." Here Nimrod was confounded and became silent.
ألم تر إلى الذي حاج إبراهيم في ربه أن آتاه الله الملك إذ قال إبراهيم ربي الذي يحيي ويميت قال أنا أحيي وأميت قال إبراهيم فإن الله يأتي بالشمس من المشرق فأت بها من المغرب فبهت الذي كفر والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين.
And could no longer speak and ordered to light huge fire. Nimrod ordered that to burn Ibrahim in it. Almighty Allah made the fire cool and not harm Ibrahim.
قالوا حرقوه وانصروا آلهتكم إن كنتم فاعلين قلنا يا نار كوني بردا وسلاما على إبراهيم وأرادوا به كيدا فجعلناهم الأخسرين.
Ibrahim once again invited Nimrod to believe in Allah, but he became arrogant, disobeyed, and disbelieved in Allah. The Almighty Allah sent on him a mosquito, entered his nose, and then later moved to the head, and annoyed him and caused severe pain. It was constantly moving in his head, so that the infidel beat him with shoes on his head to relieve his pain, and God avenged him and punished him for many years, until died in humiliation. Ibrahim continued to call his people to believe in Allah, the Almighty. Only 2 people believed, a woman named Sarah, later became his wife, and a man whose Lut was later became prophet, calling people to worship only Allah.
ونجيناه ولوطا إلى الأرض التي باركنا فيها للعالمين.
Ibrahim migrated with his belief from his country Iraq to Palestine and then to Egypt along with his wife Sarah. There are only true believers on the face of the earth which was filled with infidelity and atheism, except him, his wife, and Lut, peace be upon them. Only 3 on the face of the earth carry the mission of Islam message and believe. Sarah witnessed the dialogue between Abraham with worshippers of planets and stars, and how did Abraham show them by proving that those planets, stars, sun and moon appear and disappear, shining, setting, and that a person should worship only Allah alone, and to direct his face towards Allah who created the heaven and the earth, as Muslim submissive and believer.
فلما رأى الشمس بازغة قال هذا ربي هذا أكبر فلما أفلت قال يا قوم إني بريء مما تشركون إني وجهت وجهي للذي فطر السماوات والأرض حنيفا وما أنا من المشركين.
Abraham came to Egypt to call for monotheism and the worship of God. There was a king in Egypt who followed his desires. The king in Torich conveyed to the king that a beautiful woman accompanied by an old man from the north deserved to be presented to the king, and the king ordered that the woman to be presented to him. Sarah and her husband were surprised that the king has called them, and she knows from what she heard from the people of the country how the king's behavior is with beautiful women, and she knows that the weapon of the believer in every matter always is supplication to Allah and seek his help. Sarah called the God, O Lord, if you know that I believe in you and your messenger, don't let the infidel to have power over me. The king asked Abraham who's with him. Abraham told him, she is my sister. He meant his sister in the religion of Allah. Sarah was taken to the king. Abraham was outside the palace immersed in reverent prayer and constant supplication that Allah preserved his wife. When she entered, the king grabbed her hand and Sarah pulled her hand away from him. Then he held her hand a second time and she did the same as the first time. And the king said, pray to God for me and I don't harm you. So he released her, then called some of his retinues and said to them, you did not come to me with human being, but you brought a devil. Then he released her and gave her Hajar to serve her. She went to Abraham. While he was praying, he asked her with sign, what is the news? She said, Allah protected me from the wickedness of the infidel. And she told him what happened. It was a very long journey from Iraq to Palestine and then to Egypt, so that Abraham and Sarah to meet Hajar after suffering with king of Egypt. Sarah and Abraham, her husband, longed for a child, and their desire was not for the adornment of this worldly life. Rather, desire was for the one who carries the burden of the message. Sarah was barren, and Abraham longing of a child. The journey to Egypt destined by God was part of the fulfillment of the desire, where Sarah gave Hajar to Abraham after their return from Egypt with cattle, sheep, and servants, and a lot of money as gift to them from the king of Egypt. Abraham married, and God blessed him with his son Ismail, who was the realization of the good news to Abraham.
وتلك حجتنا آتيناها إبراهيم على قومه نرفع درجات من نشاء إن ربك حكيم عليم ووهبنا له إسحاق ويعقوب كلا هدينا ونوحا هدينا من قبل ومن ذريته داود وسليمان وأيوب ويوسف وموسى وهارون وكذلك نجزي المحسنين وزكريا ويحيى وعيسى وإلياس كل من الصالحين وإسماعيل واليسع ويونس ولوطا وكلا فضلنا على العالمين.
After Ibrahim married Hajar, there were deep faith and certainty in God the Almighty. Depend on Him and satisfy with His fate in judgment. Then Allah grant them with their son Ismail. One day Ibrahim came to Hajar and requested her to carry Ismail and to come with him wherever he goes. Ibrahim continued to walk until he entered the barren and very hot desert without plants or water, and requested her to stay there with her son, and then left. Hajar ran after him and said to him, "Where are you going, and leaving us in this barren valley, which without plants nor life or water, and no human being?" Ibrahim left silently. Hajar knew that was God's command and said to him, "Did God command you with this?" When Ibrahim said yes, Hajar confidently said, "Then He will not forget us too." When Ibrahim disappeared from his wife and son behind the mountain, he started to pray to God in supplication to bless his wife and son, as mentioned in Quran. "Our Lord, I have settled some of my offspring in barren valley, near your sacred house, our Lord, so that they may establish prayer. So make the hearts of believing people incline towards them, and provide them with fruits, so perhaps they will be thankful." The mother of Ismail started to breastfeed her son and drank from the water left by Ibrahim until they ran out of water, and the infant by the time began to cry from thirst. The weather was hot and the sun inflamed. Hajar left the child and climbed Al-Safa mountain, but did not find anyone. And she walked back in the desert until climbed Al-Marwa mountain, but did not find anyone. The mother returned to her child and found him crying and was very thirsty, and then again started to climb and go down 7 times, and in the last time he was very tired and even no longer able to just stand up. At that moment, Allah's care and mercy came before Hajar despair. Allah sent an angel to her, and the angel hit the ground and the water sprang from Zamzam well. Hajar surrounded the water and drank from it with joy. She drank water and breastfed her child and prostrated thanking the God. And then plants started to sprout and birds flied and tribes started to move here from far away in order to be near the water of Zamzam well. Grohum tribe stayed near the water with the consent of Hajar, provided that Grohum has no control over the water. The place was prosperous and plants spread. Ismail grew among Grohum tribe and his mother close to him, and observed him, and was keen on his upbringing. As man grew up tough, he was a knight. He was skilled in using bows and arrows. Ibrahim kept visiting Hajar and their son Ismail every year, once or twice, according to circumstances.
ربنا إني أسكنت من ذريتي بواد غير ذي زرع عند بيتك المحرم ربنا ليقيموا الصلاة فاجعل أفئدة من الناس تهوي إليهم وارزقهم من الثمرات لعلهم يشكرون ربنا إنك تعلم ما نخفي وما نعلن وما يخفى على الله من شيء في الأرض ولا في السماء. Ismail grew up and married a girl from the neighboring tribes, and his father Ibrahim visited him, took care and advised him from time to time. One day, Ibrahim saw a dream that he is slaughtering his son Ismail, and Ibrahim knew that the dream of the prophet is revelation. So he thought about his son, whom his heart was attached to, and what he would say to him when he lay him on the ground to slaughter him. He thought it's better to inform his son, so that would be better for his heart and ease, rather than to take and slaughter him forcibly. He went to his son and said, "My son, I've seen in a dream that I am slaughtering you. So what do you think?" Ismail did not hesitate for a moment. Rather he said to his father, "O father, do as you are told." They both went to fulfill the command of God, and Ismail lay on the ground and face to the ground, and Ibrahim raised his hand with a knife and ready to obey the command. God called him, as it's mentioned in Holy Quran, and we called to him, "O Abraham, you have fulfilled the vision. It is such that we reward the doers of good." And God rewarded him with great sacrifice was the ransom with which we redeemed him, and sadness turned into joy, and that day has become an eve for people that who were not born, namely Muslims.
فلما بلغ معه السعي قال يا بني إني أرى في المنام أني أذبحك فانظر ماذا ترى قال يا أبت افعل ما تؤمر ستجدني إن شاء الله من الصابرين فلما أسلما وتله للجبين وناديناه أن يا إبراهيم قد صدقت الرؤيا إنا كذلك نجزي المحسنين إن هذا لهو البلاء المبين وفديناه بذبح عظيم.
Once again, when Ismail became strong, Abraham came to him and said to him, "O Ismail, God commanded us to build the Kaaba, and they exerted an effort that is not possible for great number of men, whereas they have to dig the foundation to a great depth. Then cut the stones from far and near mountains. Move them after that, level them and build them and rise them." This required great effort of generation of men. But Abraham and Ismail, peace be upon them, who were the greatest Muslims on the face of the earth that time, they called God to accept their work and make them Muslim. And they asked God to bring out from their descendants a Muslim nation and send a messenger for them. So the God responded to them, and this nation is nation of Islam, and God sent long years later Muhammad, the messenger of God.
وإذ قال إبراهيم رب اجعل هذا بلدا آمنا وارزق أهله من الثمرات من آمن منهم بالله واليوم الآخر قال ومن كفر فأمتعه قليلا ثم أضطره إلى عذاب النار وبئس المصير. وإذ يرفع إبراهيم القواعد من البيت وإسماعيل ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم ربنا واجعلنا مسلمين لك ومن ذريتنا أمة مسلمة لك وأرنا مناسكنا وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم ربنا وابعث فيهم رسولا منهم يتلو عليهم آياتك ويعلمهم الكتاب والحكمة ويزكيهم إنك أنت العزيز الحكيم.